Social Universe, where you learn the secrets of the social media through the social universe, and in many cases, you learn the secrets of the universe itself. Today, we are talking about the cloud, online technology, and how that has developed to make your life so much better, so much easier. And we are joined by John from Adopt Technologies. You can reach them if they want to learn more about their technology. You can reach them at adopttechnologies.com. And you can also reach John at 480-422-6400. And John, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks again for having me.
You bet. So let's talk about process. We probably scared everybody half to death that they don't want to be criminals and they want to make sure they do everything they can to be in the cloud. If we could reserve the segment, it looks like we only have about 6 or 7 minutes left in the show. If you could address two issues for us. One, for those that are price conscious out there,
Sure.
How does this save money for the company, number one? And number two, once you're there and now you've saved yourself some money, you're remote hosted in the cloud, and you have the latest technology. What's the process? How do you get there? And once you've arrived, what's it like?
Sure, and I think I'll probably start with the process. We understand that the cloud isn't a fit for everyone. And so what we do, trying to be that technology partner, we will actually go into small to mid-sized businesses and do a full analysis with either their IT, in-house IT, or one of the decision makers, really just to educate them on what the cloud is, how it'll change their business, how it'll save them, and really just make sure that the cloud will complement their typical workflow. So doing that, we will check out what infrastructure they have, what software applications they're using, what data they have, what security systems that they have in place, how much email they have, what type of email they have, really do a full analysis on their entire IT infrastructure. And then at that point, our engineers will go back and we will actually design a system built on our system specifically for those needs. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. We can customize it specifically to the needs of that business. And then what we do is we actually preload everything onto our system in the data center, and then what happens is we actually pick a migration date, which typically is on a Friday afternoon. And then what happens is over the weekend our engineers are working basically day in and day out to be able to migrate all of that information from the servers that are located at the office over to our data center.
So don't apply to be an engineer for them if you don't want to work on the weekends.
Exactly.
Or have a life. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Sure. But we obviously want to make it streamlined. We understand that there can be no downtime in a business. So come Monday morning, the only thing that's anything different is our engineers are on site. Really just boots on the ground, making people feel comfortable that this transition took place, and really just making sure it's completely seamless. And from the end user perspective, there won't really be anything different besides they're just logging in a different way. It's still going to be all the same applications, it's going to be all the same programs, everything that the company utilized prior to the migration, it's the same thing. All it's doing is being held in a different location. That's really the basis of it. We work with any small to mid-sized company that is Microsoft-based entrenched. We are a Microsoft partner, so with the company, they will no longer have to go out and purchase Microsoft licenses. That's all included. And then what we found is any other non-Microsoft software we will host. So that client still owns those licenses. We will just host and manage it for them. So for instance, if they have a specific program that they're having issues with, instead of calling, let's just say Adobe, they would call us and our engineers would work it out with Adobe, because we basically want to focus on keeping you uptime, keeping it a reliable system, and letting companies focus on what they do best.
Sure.
In regards to the cost savings, we typically can find that we can save about 35 to 50% over annual traditional IT. It is kind of a domino effect because, as I mentioned, you're no longer buying the servers every 3 to 4 years. You don't have to go out and continually buy Microsoft licenses. Since the laptops are just a glorified internet at this point, you can go out and buy $200 or $300 dummied down with kind of almost refurbished laptops, because all of the processing is being done on the back end.
Sure.
You could save money on that aspect. And then there's also just some of the soft costs. It typically takes about $400 to $500 to power a server, as well as cool that back room. So there's definitely a process. And then also with the workflow, instead of having people out in the field having to come back to be able to access information off their desktop, they can work from any internet connection on any device in the world. So I mean, there really is that cost savings.
Absolutely. So there's cost savings, there's convenience, and then also one of the things the reason why Kevin from Sprint, Kevin Burdick from Sprint referred us together is that Crescendo has a product that works in the cloud, which is your telecom, basically your phone system. So normally phones cost well, I should say $100 to $2,500 per phone, and so you have an upfront cost, and then you have to pay on an average a $50 per line cost. So if you have a 20 phone system, that's going to cost you $40,000 up front, and then you still have to pay for the phone line costs. So you might be 20 times 5. You're going to be looking at about $1,000 a month for your phone lines. And then you have to pay maintenance fees on those because this is great, high-end PBX technology. So you want to guard it, so you have to pay maintenance fees on that. And then it costs $125 an hour because it takes a specialist to program that stuff. So that's what you have. And it's a similar thing that John was just talking about. And with your desktops, you have to have an IT guy that every time you have to touch something, change something, it's all you have to pay for that. The same here, every time you touch something to do with your phones. So here's the nice thing: when you move into the cloud, it's all about cost savings for your company, and at the same time, it's about three things: increasing your technology, increasing your efficiency and use, and also reducing cost at the same time. So if you get with John, you'll be able to have an entire team of cloud technologists. I don't know if that's officially there. Thomas Jefferson and I are making up words. So the point is, though, is that you would have an entire team everywhere you touch. You can actually go into the cloud where it's safer, you have better security, and it also reduces costs and increases technology and convenience at the same time.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And for all of your listeners out there, we do a free assessment, so we kind of come out and really, like I said, find out what their infrastructure is, what their goals and objectives are as a business, and then we tell them if we can help them out. If we are not the right fit for them, we do strategically partner with traditional and other organizations and IT companies that, if anything, we can put them in the hands of a trusted partner.
Absolutely. If you're not quite ready yet, or you're under contract or something, and so it's not quite the case. For example, they actually did a study, at least on the phone side, that 80% of companies would switch to VoIP Cloud PBX right now if they could, and only 20% would stay. So that means that 4 out of 5 of you out there, it would work for. And then they also said that the only reason they haven't switched yet is because they're under contract. So sometimes as a business owner, you're going to be under contract for something that doesn't quite make sense, so they can utilize those services. So what types of companies do you work best with? Who should call you when it comes to identifying, I have a business, I should give you a call, I'd be good for this?
Sure, that's a great question. Since we actually work with all companies that are Microsoft based and entrenched, so we can work with anyone within that small to mid-size market. And when I say small to mid-size, it's the 2-3 person shop all the way up to 200 employees. So we do kind of work in that realm. We specifically target construction, CPA firms, law firms, really any of those small to mid-sized markets. But as I mentioned, we can work with any type of small to mid-sized business.
Perfect. And then you can actually call John at 480-422-6400 or go to adopttechnologies.com. Thanks to all of you for tuning into the show. This is the Social Universe here on Voice America, and this is Kurt Wilhelm, your host, joined by John from Adopt Technologies. We'll see you all next week.